Hey, Retcon Raider here. Another month has come to an end, which means it's once again time to check in with my viewers about how the channel is currently doing. Now that we're moving into April, we're just a few short weeks from the channel's 1-year anniversary. But of course, we'll wait until next month to talk about that. For now, let's just focus on March. Looking at the numbers, it seems like March was actually a pretty good month overall. While it did feel a bit slow at times, the analytics tell me that channel growth has actually remained pretty consistent, and we ended up reaching 2 significant milestones over the past few weeks. First of all, the channel got about 80,000 views in March, which I think is just a bit over our previous monthly record. It also sent us flying past 500,000 total channel views, and puts us well on our way to reaching that first million. Granted, total views don't really mean anything these days, but it's still a nice confidence booster. We also pulled in about 325 new subscribers, which brings us to just over a total of 3,000. Again, that number doesn't really mean anything, but it still seems pretty crazy to me. When I first started the channel last year, I never imagined that it would end up growing so quickly. Of course, it helps that March also saw the release of my second most popular video to date, my Let's Play of the new alpha test for Bard's Tale 4. As of this retrospective, that video has pulled a little over 20,000 views, which helps to offset the fact that I released less videos in March than I had originally planned. Now, I've had plenty of problems with my production schedule since I first started the channel. I get sick, my computer breaks down, and sometimes I just feel like taking a day off, but I think this was the first time that I ended up completely losing access to the internet. Given that most of my research and editing requires a consistent internet connection, you can see how that might make things a little more difficult. So, what exactly went wrong? Well, if you follow me on Facebook or Patreon, then you probably already know the short version. Someone ended up cutting my cable line. Under normal circumstances, something like this would have been fixed within a day or two, but a combination of bad timing and misinformation ended up turning it into a week-long ordeal. I actually contacted my provider on the very first day of the outage, but they reassured me that they were already aware of the issue and had someone working to fix it. Since I'm generally a pretty agreeable guy, I took them at their word. The problem was, they were talking about a completely separate issue that had nothing to do with mine. When I still couldn't get online the next day, I called them back, and they reassured me that the problem had already been fixed. Well, obviously it hadn't, at least not for me. They agreed to send a technician over, but it was Friday and their contractors didn't work on weekends. Oh, and they didn't have any openings for Monday, so that meant I would need to wait 4 more days before they could even look at the problem. I'd like to say it gave me a chance to relax over the weekend, but honestly, I think it's the most stressed out I've been in a long time. I've just gotten so used to constantly working on videos that it just felt wrong to be sitting around doing nothing. Unfortunately, there just wasn't much I could do about it. With no internet, I couldn't do any fact-checking or research, which meant I couldn't work on any of my scripts. Since I couldn't access my Steam library, I couldn't record any gameplay footage either. I did have a small amount of footage I had recorded in advance, but that didn't keep me busy for very long. When my service provider did finally get around to sending a technician to look at my problem, they had my cable line fixed in under 10 minutes. While I am thankful that it didn't turn out to be a more serious problem, I really wish I hadn't lost 5 days in the process. Who knows, if not for the outage, this could have easily ended up being my first month with over 100,000 views. Oh well. The rest of March was pretty run-of-the-mill. I filled most of my video slots with the usual assortment of gameplay videos, alternating between Battle Brothers and Darkest Dungeon. While the numbers could always be better, both of those series have been coming along quite nicely, and I'm glad to see that they still have so many devoted viewers. I also got back to my series about Fallout Van Buren, though production on that has slowed down a bit. That's because the most recent documents I've been analyzing have been pretty long, so it takes me a while to figure out the best way to present all that information in little bite-sized pieces. Of course, it's also worth mentioning that at this point, the series is almost over. Once I finished with design document number 14, there are just 2 more left, one for the Bloomfield Space Center and another for Bomb Station 1. Of course, there are still a few other things to talk about after we finish with design document number 16, but then it might be time to start looking at other potential projects. I've gotten a lot of interesting suggestions, many of them Fallout related, but I haven't made up my mind just yet. In March, we also ended up talking about a couple of other indie games. Obviously, I just put out my March update about Phoenix Point, but I also ended up spending some time talking about Alder's Blood. I spend a lot of time looking at new projects on Kickstarter, and Alder's Blood really caught my eye. While I did have some concerns about some of the design decisions, I loved the unusual concept and the gritty, gothic art style. Unfortunately, as happens with many indie projects, the Alder's Blood crowdfunding campaign wasn't successful. The developers have since stated that they're still exploring other potential sources of funding, so I'm still keeping an eye on it. At any rate, now that we've talked about what I did in March, let's spend some time talking about what I have planned for April. Obviously, I'll be continuing my 2 Let's Play series, though Battle Brothers is finally starting to near its end. The game offers 3 different endgame crisis events, and we've already played through 2 of them. I'm guessing that we'll probably finish the 3rd event within the next 2 months. I'll also be continuing my Van Buren series, of course, but we've already talked about that. I think the biggest news this month is the impending release of Battletech by Harebrained Schemes. While I only have a passing familiarity with the setting, I've really been looking forward to getting my hands on the single-player campaign. I was even hoping to do an entire episodic series about it, but unfortunately, I recently found out that they may have removed the ability to actually customize your mech pilots. I'm certainly not going to let that stop me from playing and enjoying the game, but it does make me a bit more hesitant to commit myself to a long-running video series. I just feel like those are a lot more fun when I can get my viewers involved. I'll definitely still be doing at least a few videos about the game, but I'm going to need to rethink my approach. Aside from that, the Pathfinder Kingmaker beta should be coming out any day now. I had a lot of fun doing my series about the Pillars of Eternity 2 beta, so I'm looking forward to doing something similar with the Kingmaker beta. While I do generally prefer games with turn-based tactical combat, I can still enjoy a well-designed real-time with pause combat system. Then of course, there's the big release, Backer Build 1 for Phoenix Point. That will be our first real hands-on look at the game, and you can be sure that I'll be spending a lot of time with it once it's been released. Then again, since it doesn't come out until April 30th, we really won't be digging into that until May. At any rate, I've been prattling on for almost 10 minutes now, so I think it's about time we started wrapping things up. After all, I've still got plenty of other videos I need to work on. But first, I'd like to thank all of you for continuing to help support the channel. It may not seem like much, but every time you watch or share one of my videos, or click on the like or subscribe button, it helps the channel grow, and I really appreciate that. While this is still just a hobby for now, at the rate things are currently going, I can see this potentially turning into a full-time career somewhere down the line. Oh, and of course I'd also like to give special thanks to the growing number of people who have been generous enough to pledge or donate through Patreon and PayPal. All of that money goes right back into the channel to help cover the costs of equipment, software, subscription fees, and the occasional game or two. So, special thanks to my Honorary Raiders, Demetre Foster, James Trimmier, Mark Richards, Purge, Stjepan Lovasić, and Woe77. And extra special thanks to my veteran raiders, Alluvian Est-Endrati, James Anspach, Laura and Mike, Mildly Nuclear, Nazzul, and Sir Skelibate. I'd also like to thank Dakrim, Revenant, and Rowan Church, who are actually crazy enough to pledge at the Raider Captain and Raider Lord tiers. You guys are great. That said, if you'd like to keep up with my latest videos, then feel free to follow me on Facebook or click that subscribe button. If you'd actually like to help support the channel through donations, then you can do so through my Patreon or PayPal accounts. And hey, even if you're just a casual viewer, that's fine too. Like I said before, every little bit helps. Besides, as long as you're enjoying the videos, that's good enough for me. This is Retcon Raider, signing off. Thanks for listening. Oh, and remember, if you've got any questions or comments, you can contact me through the comment section on any of my videos, or you can reach me through my Facebook page, my Patreon account, or my official email address. As always, links are in the description.